We are in Module 4, Lesson 17 on page 77 in our workbooks. We are going to multiply and model, then rewrite each expression as a multiplication sentence with decimal factors. The first one is done for you. So we've been doing fraction multiplication. So we did 1/10 times 1/10. We know we multiply the numerators together, and then we multiply the denominators together. So we'd get 1 times 1 is 1, and then 10 times 10 is 100, so we get 100th. And we show this in a model. But we can also think about this as decimal multiplication. Well, if we think 1/10 is the same as 0.1 because 1 is in the tenths place. Excuse me. And then 1/10 again is 0.1. And we multiply 1/10 by 1/10. We end up with 100th, which we know is 0.01 because there's a 1 in the hundredths place. If you need help with the decimals, please look on page 81. There is a template there for you that you can tear out of your book and use for this lesson. You can put it in your whiteboard pouch and you can use it for this lesson. So letter B, we have 4/10 times 3/10. So first 4/10 is these first 4 boxes. So this is 4/10. And now 3/10 of this, because remember whenever we multiply it's of, I can pick 3 of these tenths. And now I say, well, 4/10 times 3/10 is really 4 times 3 on top, 10 times 10 on the bottom. We get 12 hundredths. And notice if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we can also show this with decimal multiplication. Well, 4/10 is the same as 0.4. 3/10 is 0.3. And 4/10 times 3/10, we've actually done this in previous lessons. Remember, we do 4 times 3 is 12. Tenths times tenths is hundredths. So we end up with 12 hundredths. So that's 3 different ways to find an answer of 12 hundredths here. Letter C, we have 1/10 times 1.4. So here, if we look at 1.4, we know this is the same as 1 whole and 4/10. Remember, 1 whole is the same as 10/10. So this is really just 14/10 altogether. And what we can do is to show 14/10, well, we have to color in 1 whole. So notice this is 10/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10/10 if you count those. And then we color in 4 more tenths in this second whole. So we have more than 1 whole that we're starting with. So this is 10/10. And then we have 4 more tenths. Now we want 1/10 of this. Well, 1/10 is just one of these little things. And notice I color in just the colored section of these. And we really have 1 times 14 over 10 times 10. We end up with 14 hundredths. And if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then again, we can show this with decimal multiplication. Well, we have 1/10 times 14/10. And that equals 14 hundredths. So now I want you to pause the video, try letter D on your own, and then come back and we will go over it. So we have 6/10 times 17/10, because we color in 1 whole, which is 10/10 still. And then we need 7 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we want 6/10 of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll color all these in through the whole colored part. And we know that this is the same as 6 times 17 over 10 times 10. 6 times 17 is 102. So notice we could count all these boxes, but we could just also do 6 times 17 instead. And now notice 102 is the same as 1 whole and 2 hundredths. So now we know that this is also the decimal 0.6 times 1.7. And then we said this is 102 hundredths, which is 1.02 because it's 1 whole and 2 hundredths. And again, you could have done 6 times 17, and it's tenths times hundredths, and that gives us thousandths. Or I'm sorry, tenths times tenths, which gives us hundredths. So number 2, we're going to multiply, and the first few are started for us. So the first one they actually completed. We get the answer of 3.5. So it's 5 times 7/10 is 3.5. Letter B, they already started here. We have 5 times 7 is 35. 10 times 10 is 100. So we get 35 hundredths. And again, if you need to, use your place value chart. This is the same as 0.35. And now letter C, we have 5 times 7, which is 35. 100 times 10, which is thousandths. So 35 thousandths is a decimal 0.035 because we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Letter D, we have 6 times 3/10, which we know is 6 times 3 over 10, which is 18/10. And we know that's the same as 1 whole and 8/10, which is 1 whole and 8/10 is a decimal. So I want you to pause the video, try E, F, G, H, and I, and then come back and I will go over it. So for E, we have 6/10 times 3/10. We should end up with 18 hundredths, which is 0.18. 6 hundredths times 3/10 is 18 thousandths, which is 0.018. 12/10 times 4, we get 48/10, which is 4 wholes and 8/10. So we have 4 ones and 8/10. 12/10 times 4/10 is 48 hundredths, 0.48. And then 12 hundredths times 4/10 is 48 thousandths, 0.048. Pause the video, try number 3, and then come back and I will go over it. So we have a Boy Scout has a length of rope measuring 0.7 meters. He uses 2/10 of rope to tie a knot at one end. 2/10 of the rope. So we have 0.7, and then we want 2/10 of this. Remember, that's multiplication. So we can either do this with decimal multiplication or fraction multiplication. They don't tell us which one we have to use. I'm going to use fraction multiplication. And we get 14/10, which is 1 whole and 4/10. Or I'm sorry, silly me. We get 14 hundredths, which is 0.14. Or you can leave it as 14 over 100. You could have answered with a fraction or a decimal. They don't tell us here which one we need to use. Try number 4, pause the video, and then come back and check your work. After just 4/10 of a 2.5-mile race was completed, Lennox took the lead and remained there until the end of the race. How many miles did he lead the race? Well, after 4/10 he started leading. So he really led for 6/10 of the race. And it's 6/10 of 2.5. So this is the same as 6 times 2.5 over 10. Well, 2.5 times 6 is 15. So we get 15/10, which is 1.5 miles. Again, you could have answered in a fraction or decimal. They do not ask specifically. Reed, the second place finisher, developed a cramp with 3/10 of the race remaining. How many miles did he run without a cramp? So again, he did 3/10 remaining, so it's 7/10 without a cramp, and then it was still 2.5. So if 6 times 2.5 is 15, that means 7 times 2.5 is just one more 2.5, which is 17.5. And we get 17.5/10, which is the same as 1.75. Remember, when we divide by 10, we just shift one place value to the right. So I just put this in my place value chart, or in your head, you just shift one place to the right.